Good hilarity and opinion with Jamie, Simon and Hutch. The Newcastle Comparison, live weekly on NUFC Talk Radio, on YouTube and in all your listening platforms. NUFC Talk Radio, the voice of the Toon Army.
Greetings, salutations, and welcome to the Newcastle Comparison. It's been a week. It absolutely has. We've got quite a lot going on in the world of Newcastle United, and I've got my friends here, Simon and Hutch, to join with us. If you're listening via a podcast, hello. If you're watching on NUFC Talk TV, please like and subscribe. Perhaps you're on a train and somebody's playing their phone out loud without earphones, because society, quite frankly, is going to the dogs. Good evening, Simon. Have you triple locked your door tonight?
I have, yeah. Hi, Jamie. It's been a busy week. But yeah, it's...
Reactions a bit slow, are they?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. Well, I was out with friends last night having a curry and a few drinks, so I'm kind of feeling the Sunday vibe today. But yeah, all good.
Hutch, can you inject a bit more enthusiasm into proceedings? Hi, Hutch.
Hello, how are you? Oh, I am still working through the Bournemouth PTSD.
Oh, I think Jamie's frozen there.
He certainly has.
Yeah, maybe it's my lack of enthusiasm killed his internet. Well, I think with him, yeah. Let's talk about the Bournemouth game then, Hutch.
Oh, we shall talk about the Bournemouth game.
Are you back, Jamie?
Do you want to talk about the Bournemouth game?
I take it you'll be gunning into the Bournemouth game while I was facing down Wi-Fi problems there.
Yeah, we were just about to get into it. So, and again, this will come up throughout this podcast, but I was unfortunately unable to make both games at home this week, which we'll probably touch on later. But we'll start with the Bournemouth game, I think, just while Jamie's internet's catching up. Yeah, I mean, I ended up listening to the Bournemouth game on the radio at a friend's house because we were having a night out last night, and it just sounded like a game of complete carnage and chaos, and a long game as well. I think everybody was quite excited to see how Visser and Voltemade started up front, and to see if that actually worked, because everybody's been thinking about it for a long time. But Hutch, what did you make of the game, considering you were there and I was not?
It was chaos. Yeah, the Visser Voltemade experiment, I think it worked to a degree, with a few caveats. I mean, the whole idea of playing 4-2-3-1 is that you have kind of like the two are quite sturdy. So you had Tonali there, but you didn't have Bruno or Joe Linton. You had Jacob Ramsey instead, and he did not seem suited to that role. And talking about people not suited to roles, Joe Willock was not suited to being on that right wing at all. And unfortunately, that kind of like impacted this little thought experiment in a way that it just didn't really get going on that right-hand side. But Voltemade did well in that number 10 role. He was coming a bit too deep at times, but he was obviously trying to get involved and kind of make that role his own. He played Visser in early doors. Visser probably should have done better. But it was really that Voltemade and Harvey Barnes link up that really, really worked well. Obviously, Voltemade setting up Harvey Barnes' first goal. And then also being in the middle as well, through to Tonali, when Petrovic came out and wiped out Tonali. My personal opinion, I don't really see how that wasn't a red card, but again, referees not wanting the big decisions, so it became a yellow card and a penalty. Gordon tucked it away. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the game. It was chaos, which
Did you?
unfortunately allowed. Well, I enjoyed the result. I enjoyed the game, except
I
for the
think
fact that every few minutes it was like we're winning, and then we weren't. And I didn't enjoy extra time and penalties because I was desperate for a piss. Absolutely desperate for a piss.
yeah, you might have
Just
mentioned that
would
once or
not
twice.
end. Yeah.
Jamie, now that your internet's caught up with this
I think
century, do you want to give your view?
Thanks, mate. I think I was stood next to Hutch, and he did not enjoy the game. He was cribbing and whinging all the way through, and with good right as well. I think you see it was chaotic, and it was, but that doesn't really apply to the first half because it was moribund. That which I had early on that you described, Hutch, was probably about the only moment of note. And then the rest of it was like Bournemouth counter-attacking and everybody thinking, oh, we look bloody vulnerable to these counters. But then, and then when Barnes scored, I think I might even have said to you, Hutch, oh, it's just going to be 1-0. It's just going to be one of those non-events. And then those counter-attacks kept coming, and there's cause for concern there. In isolation, it was just a last-minute equaliser for us, 2 last-minute goals in extra time, and then winning on penalties. And I think you've got to give Ramsdale his due because he saved 3 penalties and he got really close to about another 4 or 5. We're in the hat for the next round, and that's all that matters in terms of the outcome. But there's still a little bit of cause for concern.
It wasn't just the penalties he saved, though. I mean, he kept Evan Nielsen out twice. He just did well. He had his best game for us, Ramsdale. But yeah, the penalty shootout, he really put his heart on it, really, and basically decided that this was going to be his. Some of the penalties were...
We'll take getting through in any capacity. And the thing is as well, I even said to you, Hutch, what the general consensus on this would have been, but with Bournemouth leading 2-1 and us coming to the end of normal time, I said we maybe just need to go out here because the big negative Saturday's game for me was having to play half an hour of extra time. And the impact that's going to have with Man City coming up this Tuesday, with the run of games we've got ahead. Tino Livramento hobbling off. Malik Chow went down for a while, although he seemed all right afterwards, and went on to knock in what turned out to be the winning penalty. But we just did not need that extra half hour, especially not in the weather conditions, because it was freezing. I've been at that ground 3 times this week, and I've been absolutely teared as each time. I don't want to come across as some whinging little prick or anything, but it has been very cold in Tyneside this week. And you're totally right, Hutch. I was getting really annoyed with Bournemouth players who kept maliciously and pathetically insisting on scoring their penalties once it went to sudden death. So we ended up, I think it was the 9th pen apiece before we finally got to go home. I don't think I've ever been as willing to kiss a Newcastle United player as I would have been had Aaron Ramsdale been in front of me when he ended that game for us. But it's that's done. And I don't know if you've had a good old look at the 4th round, because the FA Cup, we were saying last week, there's a lot going on at the minute, but if the League Cup semi-final goes wrong, the Champions League, I think, is beyond our capabilities to win it. It could be we come to sort of March and the FA Cup's a bit of a season salvation. So I don't know if you've had a chance to have a look. 6 Premier League teams are out. So I don't know. That means looking at the last 32, isn't it, in the 4th round? So we've got 13 potential Premier League opponents. I think there's about 11 out of the Championship, and then some lower league teams. So we really need an easy tie in that next round.
Yeah,
Would
I'm
you
not. I'm
dream
not going to
tie
say.
Macclesfield?
Well, I was going to say I'm not going to say Macclesfield will be the dream tie, but shout out to them. 4 places in the league behind Spennymoor Town, and knock out current FA Cup holders Crystal Palace. Like that must have been some party, some atmosphere down there.
Yeah, absolutely. Fair play to them, and a massive bonus because it increases the chances, doesn't it? I think the thing for the draw tomorrow night is you've got, at all costs, you want to avoid Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool, and Chelsea, home or away. Then you probably want to avoid the other remaining Premier League team. Want a home draw, so anybody from outside the Prem, preferably at home. Simon has just disappeared. You know, you're allowed to disagree with me. You don't just have to vamoose. But anybody from outside the Prem, preferably at home, and just treat it as a sort of weekend off. And I realise I'm setting myself up here for us to potentially lose to somebody dreadful, but that could be very, very important given the way games are coming thick and fast in February. Anything else on Bournemouth? Does it count as beating them?
We'll take it. We're in the 4th round of the cup. I think that's the most important thing. Yeah, I mean, after losing Shah midweek and then Livramento pulling up with a hammy, its defence is looking bare again. It just seems like people are coming back just in time for other people to break down.
Yeah, big risk on Sven Botman as well. Obviously, first game back, and then he's ended up playing 120 minutes. So that's not absolutely ideal. I would say that technically it does class as beating them. However, not
Hello.
You know, we didn't beat them within regulation time, as they would say. So yeah, nice to get a Premier League team and knock them out of the FA Cup, especially at home. But yeah, all to do the next round.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to Leeds?
Yeah, let's. I think Jamie's internet's doing the hokey cokey at the moment, so we'll keep talking about the Leeds game as well. Again, not a game I attended, and I imagine if Jamie's internet was working right now, he'll be giving me absolute pelters for bailing from that game in the last minute. But we'll talk about the game first, and then we'll talk about attendances and stuff like that because it is a hot topic. Hutch, of what you saw the game, because I know you weren't there as well. What did you make of it as well? I mean, just an absolute madness of a game again.
Yeah, it's one of those. I think everyone's made the point. You know, the news about King Kev at the just before the match started was a real downer for everyone. But everyone kind of got up and showed their support, including Eddie Howe and the Newcastle players when deciding to play entertainers style football and constantly being back and forth, goals, 4-3, and this time actually coming out on top. But Dominic Calvert-Lewin is a big, chunky, nasty piece of work, isn't he? He had a really good game, unfortunately, for them, and fell awkwardly on Shaw, as you. Shaw's now out, probably for the majority of the rest of the season, and given how much you love him, Simon, that must be absolutely devastating for you.
Yeah, I'm heartbroken. And there's obviously whispers around that. Could that be his last game for Newcastle because his contract's up at the end of the season as well? And I'll stand by this comment all day. I think he's probably the best centre-back we've ever had. Like, consistent appearances, amazing on the ball for a centre-back. He creates an attacking threat through his passing range. And he's a little bit nasty as well sometimes as well, which you need as a centre-back, which I think he's been brilliant for us. And in my time in Newcastle and going to the games, he's been the best centre-back that I've seen. So, yeah, I think he's a big miss. as we say, hopefully it's not as severe an injury as we thought it was at the time, because it looked like broken leg territory, and the replay is really ugly of it as well. But yeah, there's some reports ligaments. Some people saying ligaments is actually worse than breaking it. But yeah, hopefully we get more news on it soon. It's not the last we see of him, because he has been brilliant. So yeah, not great, but yeah, great to get that win, and the momentum we've got at the moment of just finding a way to win games. That was certainly one of them. Although we didn't play well, it was a roller coaster, and I think we played well in moments, and then did something rubbish, and repeat that for the entire night. It seemed, but yeah, it was a very frustrating game, but a fantastic finish.
Yeah. I mean, how many times are we going to just talk about misplaced passes, stupid passes
Yeah.
that effectively just let people in? And I was saying to Jamie actually on Saturday, the number of times people are kind of slipping on that St James's Park pitch recently, to the detriment pretty much of us, is getting ridiculous. Malik Chow slipping to allow them in. Then Joe Linton had a massive slip on Saturday, which basically allowed Bournemouth in for a goal. Is there something going on there, or is it just tiredness and mistakes?
I saw something today. Malik Chow's had 26 starts since he signed. He's been every single game without a break, and apart from international breaks, I don't think we've had weeks where we've not had midweek games. So it's been a brutal kind of few weeks for him, and we've not been able to rotate because we've had such issues in that area. So it's been so tough. He has been brilliant, but you've got to think that there's some kind of fatigue creeping into that, because he was dreadful in that first half before as well. So it's just an amazing game, really. But I think, as everybody realizes, it was all kind of a homage to King Kev and the Entertainers days, wasn't it? It was absolutely one of those games, and the two games this week have been, which has been fantastic. Jamie, how you doing with your battle with technology?
Well, I'm not doing anything. I think probably half the house must be on devices or something, judging by how I'm coming through. But can you hear me all right now?
Yes, we can hear you all right now. Yeah, just get them to watch the recording afterwards. They don't have to watch it live on the telly downstairs or anything.
They don't know. Yeah, they love to tune in live. That's, if we didn't have parental controls on the comments, it'd be putting some right language in there. But I think it's time. You've covered the game there, but I think we need to talk about you two Tossers not turning up and me having to sit on my own pretty much. And what we've already established is the absolute freezing cold, and it's even colder when there's no one beside you to act as a sort of wind block. And if I get poorly, right, it's on your heads. If I get if I'm sniffly or have a runny snack this week. But overall, fair enough, Hutch. You turned up on Saturday, although you did whinge and grumble the whole way through, and then have just had the brass neck that came. You enjoyed it.
That's like any Saturday or any match he comes to, though. Like in his defence, that's the package. But anyway, carry on.
That's true. Oh, and actually, there's something else I want to pull you about, Hutchinson.
What?
Because before the game, you know what's coming here. Before the game, we were stood in the concourse and we were watching the very last moments of extra time of Everton v Sunderland. All right, yeah.
Yeah.
Which ended up in a hilarious penalty shootout defeat where Everton didn't score a single pen. But as it was coming towards the end, you said, I'm not sure how I want to win this. I'm not sure how I want to win this.
No, hang on. I justified this. I justified this by saying that
you justified it. This is like the Nuremberg trials. You can't justify that sort of behaviour, man.
Additional matches for them is going to absolutely knock them up. So yeah. But besides which, it doesn't really matter, does it? Because Everton just basically threw it in anyway. Like get to a penalty shootout and then just throw it in. What is that?
I don't think we
Anyway,
lost on purpose. But when we're in that hat tomorrow night, if we get Sunderland away and get knocked out of them, it's pretty much your fault.
Well, it's not my fault, is
Right.
it?
well, we'll see.
Well,
It's your fault for bringing it up.
And it's in my mind it is, and that's what I'm putting in my strongly worded email to the club. Well, because if the pair of you don't get done with not turning up all the time anyway, they're probably after your season tickets. But when they hear that you're basically a Sunderland apologist, Hutch, wow, oof. I don't think many in the ground would argue to see you publicly flogged at half time.
At no point have I said that I wanted them to win it. I said I simply wanted them to be more knackered when we play them again. Bearing in mind, as we've said, we have 2 games every single bloody week from now until the bloody apocalypse.
We don't play them till March or something, though. It could be even later if we get the League Cup final. So the bottom line is,
every game is a chance for one of them to get injured.
Well, what I wanted to do is go into my defence of why I wasn't there on Tuesday, and also like the context of not going to games, because I'm very conscious there's new rules for the club around non-attendance at the moment, particularly for season ticket holders, and it's a privilege to be a Newcastle season ticket holder. I don't take it lightly, missing games, but it's a financial commitment, it's a time commitment, and obviously being more grown up and with adult responsibilities, sometimes you can't make the game. So it is a bit of a stressful situation not being able to make the game. So I try to avoid it as much as possible. But we've got 3 midweek games in January, which is not the most rich financial month of the year anyway. And I personally, I live an hour away via a drive and a train to get to the match. So it's not the easiest, and especially with a 8:15 kickoff on a Tuesday as well. Like, I think there was some obviously social media points going around that there was tickets available, because I don't think that kickoff helps anybody with transport back, which also looked absolutely chaotic after the game as well. But yeah, the point around non-attendance. So it's you get essentially 5 no-shows. So if you don't turn up and don't sell on your ticket, as in you do nothing, it counts as a no-show, and you get 5 of those, and then your season ticket, I think the rule is that you just get cancelled. On top of that, when I was looking at the rules the other night, if you sell your ticket on more than 10 times, they do a review. So that's a real worry. I want to hold on to my season ticket forever. I want it I want my family to have it if they're interested in football, my kids to have to me if that's possible. I love going to the games. It's part of my life, and I don't want to lose that privilege. But sometimes life just gets in the way, so it is difficult to manage it sometimes. It was Baltically freaking cold on Tuesday, but that wasn't the main reason. There's a lot of football coming up, and I'm also we're going to Paris at the end of the month. We're going to Paris at the end of the month as well. So it's trying to balance and compromise. But look, I want to go to the match every time it's on. But yeah, unfortunately, there's this thing called life in the way sometimes. So yeah, but I missed a great game. I got punished for it, and I will continue to get punished for it by my good friends on this podcast as well. So it's not an easy decision.
That is a lot of words. It's a lot of words to basically say you're too soft to go out in the cold.
It's on the record anyway. That's my defence. You can take it as you want.
A couple of things about this. I read a comment, right, that somebody said the memorable and put them in mind of when we beat Norwich 4-3 in injury time in the Championship. We're getting into comparison territory now, aren't we? And I missed that game because my child had just been born.
Terrible excuse.
I had a newborn.
Terrible excuse.
I had a newborn and 2 toddlers. And my wife said, "Can you please not just go out all evening?" And she'd had a C-section as well, so she was struggling a bit. So I was like, "All right, I'll miss the game." I am a martyr, and you lot ripped me about missing probably arguably one of the best games of that championship season.
If the tables
and then
returned,
this happens now.
yeah. If the tables returned, I think you would do the same, exactly the
Which
same.
now
thing.
they are. Needless to say, I had the last laugh.
Yeah.
Also, someone's when you were talking about adult things in your life, someone said, "Is it Kenny?" has said you look like Joe 90, and I don't know who Joe 90 is.
Yeah, it's a cartoon with glasses, I think.
I would Google it, but my internet's not great.
No. Yes. Anyway, yeah. So I think I put on a group chat the other day. I've missed the 2 best games of the season. They were.
Do you think Joe 90's handsome man?
No, it's a small child with black square rim glasses and blonde hair. So it's. I think it's mostly the glasses, to be honest.
I thought he was a puppet.
You're a puppet.
Not a handsome flame-haired male model, then.
Surprisingly, no.
Wasn't it one of those like Thunderbird TV shows from like the BBC back in the 70s?
Something like that. Yeah.
I've no idea. Well, like I say, I have no frame of reference for Joe 90. But
I believe the lady pressed too much.
You know, if it's offensive enough, I will start calling you Joe 90, Simon. And if not, I'll just stick to the normal names I call you. Like Chris Rodriguez told us not to use on the air. But no, that's. I would say something as well, though, if anybody's listening who wants to get in St. James Park, that so many people, because of the glut of games, 7 home games in January, have been given their tickets back. There's been like 200 or 300 available for sale a couple of days before the game, including Yawa 2s. I think you tried to sell them against Leeds. There was nobody bought them.
No.
Hence, it was freezing around me. Haven't mentioned that. But tickets are there if people want them and people want to sort of build up some games. It's obviously unfortunate circumstances and people who live a bit of a distance away from Newcastle will struggle with that. But if you can get the area, or if you can get on for a couple of days in advance, tickets will be there. I think, as you said, the time of year, the Champions League coming thick and fast. In that, people are wanting to do the away trips as well. But like, there's no real pressure as always was on these games where like every single game was everybody going. I think not everybody's not going because it's cold. Some people do have the good reasons that you fantasized about, Simon, earlier, but they are there if anyone's interested. So we should probably talk about the match as well. Have we mentioned the league match?
Oh, we did mention it at the beginning, but if there's any specific points that you want to go through, then by all means do.
Well, it's not really. I mean, you know, it was a
Also
couple of
about the atmosphere,
first time
Jamie.
we've come from behind. The atmosphere was not great. I think it was the Leeds fans were really loud, and the singing corner tried to get us a bit involved in that, and they did a reasonable job. But I think everybody was just in that sort of cold post-Christmas funk sort of thing, whereby it struggled a bit to get going. I start with the explosion at the end when obviously we equalised and then won, which was obviously very memorable. But I think this time of year, this amount of games, there's been a couple of sort of slightly muted atmospheres in the last few weeks. I don't think it'll be like that on Tuesday night, but it was a bit like that then. It was a sort of game where I think I never leave it. I bet there was people who walked out on 60, 70, 80 minutes, especially with the 8:15 kickoff, which has come out of nowhere. 8:15 kickoffs were not a thing for midweek games until this season, and now we've had about 7 or something. And it felt really, 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 really late when I got home, but I was happy, set up for the week. First time we've come from behind to claim any sort of points. Only the second time in Premier League history that a team has led a game 3 times and lost it. Did you know that one? and the latest winner ever scored in a Premier League game. Latest winner on 102 minutes. But I think you've got to look at that game in isolation and just say it was a mad, crazy game, and we got the 3 points, take the positives and move on. If you marry that up with the Bournemouth game, we've let in 2 games at home, many of which were pretty poor goals to concede. And as a warm-up for Tuesday night, Man City put 10 past Exeter, I think, in the FA Cup, and we can't go around giving them goals. Otherwise, we're just going to absolutely trash our defence of our trophy. But we said last week, after a few Christmas grumbles, losing to the Macklams, losing to Man United, throwing that lead away against Chelsea, we had a good week last week with 2 wins. And
Oh, Jamie's fighting with the internet again.
Fighting with everything, it seems. I think what Jamie was trying to say is that, relatively speaking, we are starting to put those wins on the board, getting those points on the board, and moving on up.
Yeah, I think this week we always knew that it was going to be easy games. I think Jamie as well, talking about the City game, we've been playing supposed lesser opposition, so we've been able to outscore them. When we play City this week, I don't think that's going to be the case, unfortunately. So we're definitely going to get an altogether different test on Tuesday night. I think they'll put out a strong team, so I think we need to, whatever frailties we've got, hopefully we've now played them out, and we'll be a bit tighter against City on Tuesday night. With Jamie sorting out his internet, Hutch, maybe we start stepping into our comparisons for this week. What do you reckon?
Yeah, let's go for it. Obviously, this is a week that's been dominated by the news that Kevin Keegan has diagnosed with cancer. So rather than looking at games around this time, we've been looking at games that have been games specific to Kevin Keegan. Now, Simon, do you want to go first?
Yeah, so I don't mind going first here. So I started supporting Newcastle during the Kevin Keegan era. So after Euro 96, Shearer moved to Newcastle, and that was when I got into football. So a friend of mine had the video summary of the 96-97 season. So Shearer moved to Newcastle. I fell in love with football during Euro 96. Shearer was top goal scorer. And I used to watch this video of the 96-97 Newcastle season over and over and over again, because Shearer was on fire. It obviously was the end of the Keegan era. And the comparison I've picked is from, actually, it was 5 games into Kenny Dalglish's time at the club. But it was still very much Keegan's team. And another 4-3. So obviously inspired by the Leeds game this week. There was a game we played in February against Leicester, which finished 4-3 with a last-minute equaliser. Shearer scored a hat-trick. But one of the things I always remember about this game, and it's something that it was the reason I watched that video so many times as well, is Shearer scored a free kick during this game that was pretty much unsavable. So it's probably the hardest free kick I'll ever see. I think it kind of goes through the wall, and Mark Bosnich was in goal, I think, for Leicester, and he just absolutely smashes it. I think we were losing 3-1 at that stage. It took us back to 3-2 and got us back into the game, and it was his first goal. And I think Shearer talked about it later. He said, we played terribly. He was playing terribly, and he was just really annoyed and hit it as hard as he could. But it was the start of the comeback, and he absolutely smashes this free kick in. The video is going to be available, obviously, on YouTube if you want to watch the game back. But yeah, it was a typical kind of Kevin Keegan Newcastle entertainers team, although he'd left by this point, but it was very early days for Kenny. But that team, the granddad collar, Shearer smashing goals in, it was very much like cemented my love of the club, which obviously I eventually moved up north and then got a season ticket to watch them on the regular. So it was a great example of how we used to play that football. And this week was just a good reminder of that, where we'll outscore you or we'll score more than you. So yeah, that was my comparison. It was another 4-3.
But not that regular, eh, Simon?
Yeah, not that regular.
So,
Go on.
yeah, before Jamie tries to do his, I've gone for a game much later on. It was, in fact, it's Newcastle against the Mackhams at home, April 20th, 2008. So Keegan came back under Mike Ashley, and I was on the Metro, in fact, when it was announced, and on the tannoy of the Metro, they announced it, and you could tell who was a Newcastle fan and who was a Sunderland fan on that Metro, because there was some head in hands, and there were some people literally cheering on the Metro. But this game, Newcastle won 2-0. There was an opera singer beforehand, and war flags, everyone was given a little piece of card. Some of it had a black background, some of it had a white background, which we all held up in the stadium, creating a not very spectacular visual. But we've fixed these in later days when they aren't all corporately sponsored. It was one of those games where Mike Ashley felt comfortable enough to be seen drinking around town. In the days before Keegan basically left, on the basis that Ashley and Wise made his new reign intolerable. But it was a pretty dreary game, to be honest. But we still won. Jeremy crossing it in for 1 on the 4th minute, or just before the 4th minute, and him putting it past, was it Craig Gordon in goal for them at the time? And then just before half time, a link up between Mark Viduka and Mike Lowen, and one of their massive sluggers basically clothesline Mike Lowen, which, to be fair, I think we would all like to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Good for that guy. Well done.
But Owen steps up, takes the penalty, and scores. And then the second half just basically was just dreary and dismal. They offered nothing, and we, to be honest, offered very little as well. And that's how it finished. But yeah, always nice to beat the Mackhams when we get those opportunities. And that was the one that we did with King Kev back on the helm. But
nice.
Just before we try and talk to Jamie, if he comes back online, there was another anniversary this week. Christian Atsu, it would have been his birthday yesterday. So very quickly, Saturday the 23rd of December 2017 was our first trip to the London Stadium, as it is now. And outscored and technically assisted on this game. Assisted in the sense that he was hacked down and we scored from a free kick. And then Atsu finished up the scoring on the 61st minute. Well, finished our scoring on the 61st minute. What in a game that would eventually be 3-2 to ourselves. So again, Christian Atsu, rest in peace, mate.
Yeah, good shout, Hutch. I mean, I remember Atsu, like I think he had some AFCONs while he was playing for us. He wasn't like the most skillful player, but he tried so hard for the club, and he loved the club as well, I think. So yeah, got some good memory. I remember his assist for Joe Linton against Spurs. It was an early game, I think, one of the couple of seasons ago. But yeah, like I think he just loved playing for us, and he always tried his best as well. So yeah, thanks for that, Hutch. I think we're absolutely riddled with gremlins for the internet. So I think what we might do is wrap it up in a sec, because we can't get Jamie back, who's the master of ceremonies here. Jamie, I don't know if you can hear me, but I think what we'll do is maybe leave it there for this week, unless you can get back on and fight the good fight.
Am I here
against
yet?
The internet. I can just about hear you.
Okay, sorry, having the old technical difficulties, which isn't ideal. But if you can hear me well enough to get mine across, I was actually season ticket holder throughout the whole Keegan. Well, I was a season ticket holder from '93 because that's when you needed one. I didn't realise you needed one in 1992 when I was basically a child going with kids from school, and we just used to pay on the gate. And because of everything that Keegan brought and the Sky Sports explosion of the Premier League, you needed a season ticket, otherwise you weren't getting in that ground. So I was lucky enough to get a hold of one, and I've had it ever since for 33 years or something, and one cup. And it was just, every week was brilliant. You went there expecting to see goals, and you were very rarely disappointed. The one I'm going to focus on is looking at this time. So the main season was 95 to 96. Early January 96, or early January 1996, which is 30 years ago, we played Arsenal, and David Ginola scored after 1 minute. He just went hearing through with one of Arsenal's much vaunted defenders on his shoulder, I don't remember which, and just blasted it past David Seaman, and we won 2-0, at top of the Premier League. We know it ended badly, but it was a brilliant season. And I think throughout his time here, Keegan put out brilliant teams, went for everything, didn't win anything other than the Championship, is in the second tier, but put Newcastle on the map, transformed us from a club that was bottom of the second division and potentially going out of existence into a Premier League title contender and almost winner. But throughout, just a great man as well. Somebody who always had time for people, always brought enthusiasm to people. And a few years ago, I happened to meet him just as the takeover happened. There was a little bit of a do he was at, and the mag was asked to cover it, and I got sent along and got a free meal and talked to him about the takeover and if he could be involved, because the club needs to do something to recognise his contribution, whether that's a stand named after him, a statue, or whatever. And I spoke to him for a bit, and because I was there on the condition that I wrote it up, and asked if he would be interested in coming back and if the new owners had got in touch. And he said they would need to tell me what to do. He said, I will only come back if I can be of use. I'm not going to come back in a ceremonial or ambassadorial role. I'm too old to run around with a tracksuit on and coach a team. So they need to give me a role that I can do. And the role he could do, I didn't think of it at the time. It was like after I'd left that night, and you have the thought. The role for him, I think, would have been closer. Whenever we wanted to sign anybody, we had a lot of it this summer where we couldn't get signings over the line. If you wheeled Kevin Keegan into the room to speak to people, I think they signed for Newcastle. There's the stories out there of how he persuaded Rob Lee that Newcastle was closer to London than Middlesbrough, how he got Ferdinand here, he got Shearer here when Man United were interested. I don't think there's any story of Newcastle pursuing a player under Kevin Keegan and not getting them. And I wonder how many of those who turned us down over the summer might have been in black and white now if KK had been there doing his little bit of powers of persuasion to try and get them here. So, yeah, I think just all the best to the great man. We don't know much about his condition, but we do know he's getting treatment. So, fingers crossed it's something that he can recover from, and especially I would hope that he can get back to the ground at some point. War Flags had a bit of a display for him, but they've had one that they would like him to be there for some time, and I just hope that gets to happen. So, yeah, we've gone a bit somber, haven't we? But I'm just glad I can be heard again. And there's a bit of chat in the chat about the classic 1995-96 Hoop the Way shirt going back on sale. It's not just the shirt, actually, it's a whole range of training tops and stuff. And we've all said that the amount of people that'll be buying the amount of stuff there, that's going to solve next summer's PSR issues. We won't have to sell Tino Livramento or anybody. We can buy who we want, I think, in the summer off the back of that kit because it is très magnifique. So, given technical issues, has anyone got anything else on comparisons? Because I've been in and out a bit.
We went through ours. So we went through. I picked a game which was a 4-3. It was in the 96-97 season. So it was
topical.
Yeah, it was one where Shearer scored a hat trick against Leicester, and then Hutch went through his. Sorry, go on.
Dalglish was manager then, wasn't he? But it was very Keegan-esque performance.
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
and it was. I think it was only 5 games into Keegan's tenure, so it was still very much Keegan's team.
This is one of those shows where you get to hear what happened 10 minutes ago, 10 minutes later. But I think, everyone. What I'd say as well is everybody recognises what a great period in this club's history that was, and everybody respects for that. And this, for me, is when we talk about people being, I know Win likes to call people bedwetters, but I think Eddie Howe also deserves that degree of respect because he's done what Keegan couldn't. He won us a trophy, and he should be respected for building a team, even though it's from the bottom of the Premier League. He got from there to the Champions League in one season. And the sort of degree of respect, I think, is, it's not thinking you can't see doing things wrong when he's not getting the substitutions or the game management right and stuff. It's maybe just being a little bit more humble than just shouting for it every time we let a goal in, I would not like to have seen the state of the internet as Leeds took the lead 3 times the other night. But these sort of things happen. These sort of things happened a lot under Kevin Keegan, and hopefully we're on an upward trajectory.
To be fair, though, Howe did that with Bournemouth, didn't he? He basically took them from what was the bottom of League One, and almost broke bottom of League Two and brought them to the Premier League. So
I do sort of wish he hadn't, because Bournemouth are now like a turd that won't flush for us. We cannot beat them in the Premier League, and it took 17 hours to get them out of the FA Cup the other day, and probably has cost us the League Cup semi-final. So I wish they would off Eddie, but Eddie cut his teeth there. We've done all right at Bournemouth, haven't we? We got Eddie and Jason Tyndall. We got Callum Wilson, Ryan, Matt Ritchie. We made a massive profit on Lloyd Kelly. So
God, I'd forgotten about that transfer. That was the most surreal transfer ever.
It was just free money, wasn't it? We mugged them.
I know. Oh, they must have just looked at his like FIFA stats or something rather than actually what he was doing in real life.
He's doing all right at Juventus, I think, as well. So,
fair play to him.
Here you go. So, I think I've mentioned Man City there. The week ahead is big again. It's probably the biggest game of the season so far. People might argue that Derby's bigger, but trophies is trophies, man. So, Man City next. Another game on Tuesday night. I didn't look at the weather forecast for Tuesday in Newcastle. But it is restaurant week. So if you're local, get yourself out there. We've booked into the Greek place in the big market, haven't we, for some
no
pre-match.
Yeah.
And the thing about this one is we need to win the match and have something to go to the Etihad and defend. I think if it's a draw, we're just lambs to the slaughter going there. We have a terrible record there. But ideally, you need to comfortably win the match. So, first of all, Hutch, do you think Do you think we can get away with a draw or a narrow defeat to give us any chance, or do you agree with me that we need to basically book our place in the final on Tuesday night?
We need to win, but I can't see it happening now.
Because of the extra time.
Because of the extra time, because of the injuries, we literally have Botman and Chow who will both be knackered, and we have Trippier. Trippier was not great against Bournemouth. Obviously his first game back, but unless we play Miley there, which to be fair might be preferable, and we Hall again is played far too many minutes. He needs a bit of a rest as well because he must be running on fumes by now.
You can't rest anyone on Tuesday though. You've got to put out
Well, you can't rest anyone for unless we sign someone for the rest of this month because they're all massive games.
I saw a stat earlier today. I've got a question for you. I saw a stat saying which player in the Newcastle team has the biggest points return in games they've played this season, i.e. the player we've done best with this person in the team. Do you know who it is? I have made a horrendous job of explaining that. So the points total, the average points that we get when this person plays is higher than if you did that for any other player. Who is it?
Is it Lewis Miley?
No. Simon, I'll let you have one guess.
Bruno.
It's not Bruno. I think Bruno's played in every game, so his return would be whatever our actual points total is, average. It's Joe Linton. And I think that was magnified the other day because it was just Bournemouth hearing at us with counter-attacks. And then when he came on, he started putting his foot in, he started pushing them over and stopping their attacks and things. And he's been really good lately, but I just think it's inevitable that he'll break down again. He's just seems to be so injury prone nowadays, maybe because of his style of play. But you need him in. I think the two up front might have been a little test to see will this work against City, but I can see him go 4-3-3. But kitchen sink at them at St James and have the bench fully loaded with everybody as well so we can make positive changes when we need to, and we need to come away. I think we need to have any confidence to go into the final. We need to come away with a 2-goal lead.
Yeah, at least. Yeah.
Do you think it's possible, Simon, or are you pretty much writing it off now we've got this draw?
We've done it before in the cup against them, and we've beaten them this season. Albeit, I think they're in a better patch of form at the moment now than they were previously. It's going to be hard. They'll want to go for this, and they're too close to it not to go all out for it. And I think our injuries are going to find us out. So I don't like our chances, to be honest.
They're not actually. I know scoring 10 goals on the weekend, but they're not actually in the best run of form. They've drawn the last 3 Premier League games.
Who are they playing?
Yeah, but
Sunderland,
£1 billion
Chelsea,
super team.
Brighton.
Okay. Well, I think we just got. We'll talk about that next week because we just got to see how it goes. Hopefully, we get something to take the Etihad, and hopefully, we probably need them to be a bit crap as well, don't we? If it's one of those, whatever we do, if they turn up and play at their full capacity, and Haaland's on form and all that, they'll tear us apart. Whatever we do. So we need the stars to align a little bit. But whatever you say, the League Cup remains our best chance of success this year because we're that far away. There's another big club would be waiting for us in the final, but I'll take a day out at Wembley, would you?
Yeah.
Obviously.
So we've got that. We've got Wolverhampton on the Sunday. There's going to be a live watch along on NUFC Talk TV in a secret location to which I can't disclose, mainly because I don't know it. because Chris is coming to Newcastle. He's going to be trying to get the Villa game, and he's going to be doing that watch along there. So we'll cover those two next week, but I feel like the bad weather and the fact that you have stopped going to games and stuff has put a bit of a dour tint on this. But let's end with the positives a little bit. We've got 4 wins on the bounce now, because I'm counting that as a win against Bournemouth. I'm thinking we can do things in the weeks ahead. We've still got a few home games. Wolverhampton are bottom of the league. Do we worry about their recent upturn in form? Do you think you probably are, Hutch? You're probably predicting a win for Wolves, are you?
I worry about every game of football, Jimmy. You know that. So
Yeah, you do.
the recent upturn, is it worrying? I mean, yeah, I am slightly. They have put like a few good games together, but again, mainly draws. I know they beat West Ham. We couldn't beat West Ham, but they were at home. They got a draw against Man United. We didn't get a draw against Man United, but it wasn't through the lack of
Aye.
opportunities. You know, each game of football is different. It depends how much energy we massively exert on Tuesday, and I suspect it's going to be a lot. And I think that's probably
Yeah.
the reason why I am fretting slightly.
Tuesday to Sunday is a decent rest compared to
It
what
is.
we've had.
And we
over the
do
last-
have we do have options. It's just every single time we use those options, they don't seem to really grasp it by the horns.
Yeah.
So we are relying on a small set of key players still, and that feels very. It feels demoralising, frankly, especially like at this point in the season, that those players who should be looking to get into the squad and looking to challenge the regular starters aren't.
Yeah, I think we said it's probably not unfair to say that the likes of Ramsey and Willock didn't really seize the initiative when they came into the team on Saturday, did they? And you kind of want to be thinking, as you have with Lewis Miley, you need to play them, you need to get them in the team for the next match or for the rest of the season or for whatever. And instead, there's no doubt that if you play Joe Linton, Tonali and Bruno, everyone would say that's the strongest midfield.
Yeah.
Jacob
Ramsey's got some work to do to prove his price tag, like, because he's just we've kind of given him a grace period, but God, he's done nothing since he's been playing for us. So yeah, just doesn't seem to contribute anything. Just runs like meh. Very meh.
Kenny saying there's a podcast somewhere, or Wolves' worst ever Premier League team, enter Newcastle.
To be fair, right?
Thought of as the worst ever team in Premier history? Why not try playing Newcastle?
To be fair, right? Like the Athletic have been going on about this, and up until the point where they actually have had this recent run of form, they probably would have been. They were on course for beating that record, but they're not anymore. Like they're only a few points away from getting more points than Derby have, and it could well be that we give them a bloody helping hand come the weekend, and it wouldn't shock me, to be honest.
I think it surely staying up is going to be beyond them from where they are now, anyway.
You would think so.
And so, you know, they haven't got that much to play for. We've just got to kind of galvanise and get used to this, and it may depend as well what happens in the Man City game. If that's a bit demoralising or tiring, or if that goes to 120 minutes somehow or other, as games seem to have been doing lately, then it could make life a bit trickier. But if you had a choice, win one, lose one this week, are you both winning the cup tie?
Yep.
Yeah.
Simon?
Losing to Wolves. Yeah, no, I'd probably take the cup tie, yeah. As long as it's a comfortable win, if I can adjust my answer slightly, like something that gives it not like a 1-0, but 3-0, go to the City game.
I'm only really giving you a win. I'm not getting into specifics. Because then after that, we've got...
It's a cup game then.
We've got
Simon,
another big game.
Simon, a hypothetical for you, right? You've got to lose as much as you win one. Right, so if you beat Man City 3-0, you've got to lose to Wolves 3-0. What score are you going to go for?
I'd probably take the 3-0 against City. And just
would you not go for 5 or something that couldn't be turned around even by Man City at the Etihad and just take the utter humiliation at Molineux?
Yeah, because we've substituted everybody out because there's injuries, but they're injuries that are then repaired. We're getting too much into the time changing detail of it, but I think City, a good win against City would be probably the preference.
Tino Eli said, not sure Simon would survive another trip to Wembley. He either knows how much you comfort ate when we lost to Man United, and or he knows your habit of wandering off when you've had 3 beers.
He knows both. Yeah, I think he knows both. Yeah. But yeah, probably not. Financially more than anything. Yeah. I'd give it a go.
Yeah, those hot dogs were like £7 a pop, weren't they?
Yeah. Or 14 if you buy them in pairs.
If anyone's not been to Wembley, it is quite expensive in there. Yeah. And I would recommend going in there with a pocket minibar if you can get away with it. But hopefully, that we have to look at whether it's the FA Cup or the League Cup. So, I was going to say we've got another big game with PSV, but that's next week's look ahead to the week after, and shouldn't be talking about it this week. But we have got to be aware that Champions League's on the horizon. FA Cup's still going. Draw tomorrow night at 6:30 p.m. League position's looking better. We're up to 6th, and I feel like we've said this before, but if we win the next game, we could be in a Champions League spot, which seems crackers after the season we've had and after the morning we've done and some of the results we've had. If we are sitting in the Champions League this time next week, the whole entire Premier League needs to give a tea to wobble, because that is really just come out of nowhere. And then, as we said, next up, the defence of our trophy. Could be, I think it'll probably be the first time in our history we go into February still in the hunt in 4 competitions. Not saying we can win the Premier League, but we could get a very good finish in there, which I think would satisfy everybody. But we'll just have to see what happens. Maybe we'll keep the faith a little bit, because this is the second week in a row that we've talked about good things happening. If we're talking about good things happening next week, then will maybe be an important step forward. Right then, I'll see you on Tuesday night for restaurant week and a few beers, and we can drunkenly book our hotel for Wembley at some point later that evening.
Yeah, absolutely. I will definitely be there on Tuesday.
Are you sure? Are you going to be there, Hutch?
Definitely.
I will be there.
Even if it rains a little bit, or if you have one of your Norman Wisdom pratfalls that you were blaming for not getting there the other night.
Yes, I will be there, and I will try to avoid any form of physical injury between now and then.
Yeah, you said you couldn't turn up at St James's Park because you kept falling over. Didn't stop Malik Chow, did it, on Wednesday night? Right.
No.
Well, sorry, are you defending yourself here? Don't want to hear it.
I don't see the point in defending myself against your Indian banter.
Thank you. I think. Right. Well, apologies for my earlier issues, and but I think you acquitted yourselves quite well when I wasn't on. Thanks everybody for the comments. Like and subscribe, NUFC Talk TV and all that jazz. And if you listen to a podcast, give us a subscribe. I will get my internet better for next week. Lads, see you through the week. People out there, see you through the week as well.
Cheers, guys. Have a good one.
Cheers.
Bye.